Welcome in to the Punt and Pass podcast. I'm your host, Drew Butler, usually joined alongside my co-host, Jake Fromm, but it's Monday and the Lions are playing in Monday Night Football. So Jake has some other important things to take care of on this holiday episode. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Happy New Year to you as well. College football playoff quarterfinal games just a couple of days away. So, of course, we're going to recap what Jake and I had previewed on last week's Christmas episode of the 4 big games coming up on Tuesday and, of course, on Wednesday, which is New Year's Day. Some other great headlines across college football that I will touch on right here as well. Please be sure to follow us on social media. We are at Punt and Pass on X and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. Jake is at From Jake. And on YouTube, we are Punt and Pass / Punt and Pass on YouTube. Please rate, review, and subscribe. We have been having a ton of fun. This episode of Punt and Pass presented to you by our awesome partners over at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Hopefully you were able to take advantage of one of the many opportunities that Solomon Brothers presented our amazing listeners right here at Punt and Pass to head on into one of their 3 stores to get the best Christmas or holiday gift or New Year's gift or engagement ring that you possibly can get in the Atlanta area. Of course, those 3 locations are in Buckhead, 17th floor, Tower Place, in Alpharetta, just past the Avalon, and a brand new location down in Sharpsburg. You go in store, you mentioned Punt and Pass sent you. You can get up to 20% off your jewelry purchase. They have the best diamond and jewelry selection in the city of Atlanta, an in-store experience that is simply unmatched, and a staff that will accommodate anything that you are looking for, any budget. I guarantee you head into a Solomon Brothers Jewelers location, you will walk out a happy customer. And again, mention Punt and Pass sent you. You can get 20% off your in-store jewelry purchase. Really appreciate all of our listeners supporting our awesome partners, Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Check them out at Solomon Brothers on social media, solomonbrothers.com. As I said, hope everybody had a great Christmas. Hope you're gearing up for an amazing Happy New Year. It's interesting with these 2 holidays falling on Wednesdays because it seems like this past week has just been absolutely no man's land, and there's been a ton of football on, which is obviously a bunch of fun to sit back, eat the leftovers, maybe have an afternoon cocktail or 2, and just enjoy what the holiday season brings. And as a reminder, Jake Fromm getting ready for Monday Night Football, Lions at 49ers on this Monday. We'll be back with an episode to recap the quarterfinals, the action that happens in the quarterfinal games later on this week. So be sure to keep it locked in at Punt and Pass on YouTube, Punt and Pass wherever you listen to and subscribe podcasts. All right, some big news broke over the weekend out of the Georgia camp. Georgia, of course, getting ready to take on Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. Everybody knew Carson Beck was not going to be available after his UCL injury in the SEC championship game. There was some rumors swirling around as to what Carson Beck would do next season. Would he return to Georgia for his extra year of eligibility? Would he explore the transfer portal and see what kind of NIL dollars that he could command in the market and go somewhere else for his final year of eligibility? Or would he enter and declare for the 2025 NFL draft? Funny enough, rumors were swirling around Saturday morning that Miami, the University of Miami, the Canes could be a landing spot for Carson Beck if he did indeed enter the transfer portal and use his final year of eligibility. I think that might have just been some internet fodder considering his girlfriend is a Miami basketball player. But shortly after those rumors started picking up on social media, it was officially announced by Carson Beck himself that he will, in fact, be entering the 2025 NFL draft. I thought that's what would happen the entire time. Obviously, Carson having to deal with that UCL injury, that's tough. It's tough for his draft stock. It's tough for his preparation, gearing up for the draft process. He would have been a surefire Senior Bowl prospect. He would have, of course, participated in the NFL Combine as well. It seems like he will be able to throw this spring. I just do not think his rehab timetable will allow him to partake in all of the usual pre-draft process workouts. He'll probably attend the Senior Bowl, I would guess. This is just me making an assumption. Take part in all the meetings, meet with the coaches. I'm sure he will go to the NFL Combine and, again, take part in the meetings, allow those NFL teams to do their medical examinations on that elbow and any other injuries that he has sustained at Georgia. But this leads me to kind of a bigger picture and a discussion around Carson Beck's legacy as the quarterback at Georgia. He stuck around. He waited his time. He won national championships. He was behind Stetson Bennett on those national championship teams, but then he took over, and I think he performed at a very high level. Now, this past season, he had that rough stretch where the interceptions were coming in full force, and that, of course, was tough. Kirby Smart coached and managed Carson Beck, I think, in a manner that you hadn't seen really Kirby take with any other player. That quarterback-head coach relationship is always very fragile. It's seen that Kirby knew he had to manage Carson Beck in a different light, and it certainly worked out in terms of wins and losses as Carson Beck won a ton of more games than he lost. Look, a year ago, the only loss they had was a 3-point loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game on a neutral field. This year, of course, they lose to Alabama at Ole Miss. He gets injured against Texas in the SEC championship. However, he does get an SEC championship ring, and he is, I think, still a part of the team. I'm sure he's down there in New Orleans. I probably should have confirmed that as I'm taping this podcast right now, but I don't know why he wouldn't be. Just because he declares for the NFL draft while injured, I don't think that means he's just up and out and not taking part in any of those fun bowl game activities. The Dogs down in New Orleans officially getting ready to take on Notre Dame in the college football playoff quarterfinal game. That is going to be Wednesday night around 9 p.m. kickoff Eastern time. Going to be a super long night. I think Carson's draft prospects are probably pretty good. Yeah, of course, they took a hit with the injury. I would expect second to fourth round just based on his playing experience, the style of offense that he played in, very pro style. He can make all the throws. There's no doubt about it. His intangibles are exactly what NFL teams are looking for. And having played in the SEC, I mean, that's a huge leg up against any of the other competition, namely Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers, if he decides to come out. Of course, Quinn played in the SEC this year, but those are the top guys in the draft class. I would expect Carson maybe finds a really good fit and finds himself somewhere around 2, 3, 4, worst case scenario. I would think 5. So hope he has a quick recovery. Congrats on a great career at Georgia. Thanks for everything you did. I would think, let me know on social media. He'll go down as a DGD, a damn good dog. No question about it. However, in response to his announcement of declaring for the draft, obviously, as the Dogs are preparing for the Sugar Bowl, the biggest question mark is the quarterback position. Gunnar Stockton will make his first start in a very high-profile game against Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. And before the Dogs went down to New Orleans, the players had some media availability. And obviously, the number one question they were getting were around Gunnar Stockton. I thought it was fascinating to hear a lot of their remarks talking about the type of person Gunnar is. Quote, he's not materialistic. Quote, he's not into NIL and all those sorts of things. Quote, he just works hard. He's first in the building. He's last out. He's a blue-collar guy, end quote. Of course, I'm summarizing some of those. To me, that seems like ricochet shots right at Carson Beck. Now, I don't know if that's intentional. I would highly doubt that it is, but so much of the flack that Carson Beck caught was around the public perception of the type of person he was. As the starting quarterback at a top college football team in this day and age of college sports, you're going to get a lot of NIL opportunities. You're going to have a lot of forward-facing marketing deals that put you out into the spotlight. And when you play great, it'll be great. And when you play poorly, that will be magnified. For the players to point to Gunnar Stockton's materialism or lack thereof, or his just wanting to work hard, not caring about NIL. One, I could easily make the argument that Gunnar Stockton didn't have a lot of NIL value prior to him being the starting quarterback. But two, it was just interesting that the players would immediately juxtapose the type of person Gunnar is with the type of person that Carson Beck wasn't. Take that as you will. I think all it comes down to is, can the kid play ball? I think he was extremely gutsy in the SEC championship game. He certainly didn't flinch, led the Dogs to an overtime victory over the what was number 1 ranked defense in the country in Texas. So he gained a lot of respect from his teammates and the coaching staff in that performance. I think it's interesting, as Kirby Smart had a media availability on Monday, December 30th, that he said to the media, the guys play harder for Gunner. Again, ricochet shot. It is what it is to Carson Beck. I don't think Kirby had any ill will towards Carson with that comment. I think what he was saying is that Gunner Stockton and maybe his lack of experience elevates the play of everybody around him, because they know they have to be better in order to provide Gunner with more opportunities to have success. I think it's simple as that. I really do. I just think the choice of words is certainly interesting. And all it's going to come down to is how Gunner Stockton plays on Wednesday night against Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. So best of luck to Gunner Stockton, starting quarterback, making his first start for the Dogs in a huge college football playoff quarterfinal game. And best of luck to Carson Beck. Sorry you got some ricochet shots on the way out, but them's the breaks, as the kids say. Let's move on to some of the news headlines that happened throughout bowl week. I think the bowl season has been fantastic so far. Overtime games, close contests, lots of drama. And the best bowl game so far this season, I think to no one's surprise, has been the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Iowa State knocks off Miami 42-41 in a thrilling bowl game over the weekend. Of course, all the extracurriculars that go along with the Pop-Tarts Bowl is a ton of fun as well. But Cam Ward, a top NFL draft prospect, a Heisman Trophy finalist, he made news by playing in the game, started, broke an NCAA broke an NCAA career record for touchdown passes in the first half as Miami went into halftime leading Iowa State. And then the second half starts and Cam Ward is seen on the sidelines and social media went ballistic. Yes, he opted out in the middle of a bowl game. Iowa State storms back, makes a great comeback. Rocco Becht and company go for two to win the game. At the end of regulation, they end up converting that 2-point conversion. They beat Miami. The camera continues to pan towards Cam Ward on the sidelines as he's just sitting there saying, "Go team, go. Sorry, I'm not out there to help you." Yes, of course, he got a ton of backlash. Do I think it's a big deal? I don't know. I mean, I guess it is. People were making it way too big of a deal, though. I would be hard-pressed to believe that Mario Cristobal and the entire Miami coaching staff did not know that that probably was the plan, as the bettors were making it very well known they should have gotten their money back. They were under the assumption that Cam Ward was going to play. When you say you're going to play, it's assumed that you're going to play the entire game. He obviously did not do that. It cost Miami the victory. I think if Cam Ward stayed in that quarterback, Miami probably would have won that game. But interesting. This is the new day and age of college football, folks. It's just as simple as that. Kids can opt out whenever they want. Kids can transfer whenever they want. I just saw earlier today, 5 or 6 Florida State basketball players are suing the former head coach at Florida State for $1.5 million because he didn't pay them what was quote unquote promised. I don't have the answers. Quite frankly, I'm too tired to continue arguing about it. Is it a big deal? Is it a stain on college football? I think you could easily say, yes, it is. It needs to be fixed. There needs to be a solution. What is that solution? I don't know. James Franklin came out over the weekend and said Nick Saban point blank needs to be the college football commissioner. College football definitely does need a commissioner. Who will that be? I have no idea. Who would he oversee? The conference commissioners? That would certainly be something to behold. There's no doubt about it. But Cam Ward opts out at halftime of the Pop-Tart Bowl. Has never been done before. Probably not the last time it will ever be done. But bowl season's been awesome, man. The Georgia Tech Vanderbilt game, horrible officiating. Feel bad for Georgia Tech. The wheels fell off for the Yellow Jackets. Vanderbilt knocks off the Jackets in the Birmingham Bowl. The Alamo Bowl was interesting as well. Colorado, BYU, and all Big 12 tilt. BYU smacked around the Buffaloes. Shadur Sanders making a ton of headlines wearing New York Giants-inspired cleats in warmups. The Giants then go on to beat the Indianapolis Colts in Week 17, knocking them back to, I think, the 3rd overall draft pick. So I don't know if Shadur will be sitting around at the 3rd pick, but it'll be interesting to see where he goes. It was cool to see Shadur and Travis Hunter both play in their final game. Obviously, it did not go as expected for Colorado as they got smoked by BYU. BYU wins the Alamo Bowl. As I'm sitting here taping this, the Music City Bowl is about to kick off. We got some great action on New Year's Eve, which is Tuesday. And then the fun starts Tuesday night with the Fiesta Bowl. Let's go inside the 5. I'm not necessarily going to break down these games because Jake and I did that. You can go back on the podcast feed. Spencer put out a great little clip of us previewing these matchups. I feel like I'd be doing Jake a disservice to change anything I said, but if you didn't listen into that, I'll give you a quick overview of where I stand for the 4 college football playoff quarterfinal games that start, of course, Tuesday evening with the Fiesta Bowl. Penn State against Boise State. When we talked about this last week, Penn State was an 11-point favorite. I like Penn State in this matchup. Ashton Jeanty, of course, Boise State's running back, Heisman finalist. He is simply unstoppable, but he has not gone against the defense that has the size, the depth, the talent that Penn State's defense is going to present Boise State with. I think Penn State just goes all out to limit Ashton Jeanty, put the ball in Boise State's quarterback's hands, make them throw it to beat Penn State. And of course, you look back at what Penn State was able to do against SMU in the first round. They gobbled up Kevin Jennings and they made SMU throw the ball. It did not go well for the Mustangs. That's the strength of Penn State. It's their defense. Their offense has left a little bit to be desired. But Penn State, as a favorite, what they do is win. James Franklin, since 2022, 32-1 straight up as a favorite. So I like Penn State to kind of bully Boise State around on Tuesday night in the Fiesta Bowl. They will make their way to the college football playoff semifinal game. Again, this episode of Punt and Pass presented to you by our awesome partners over at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Look, it's the new year. If you want to make 2025 very special, maybe you've got some engagement plans, head on into a Solomon Brothers locations. Tell them exactly what you're looking for. Tell them exactly what your budget is, and then mention Punt and Pass sent you. You can get up to 20% off that jewelry purchase. They've got 3 incredible locations for you to choose from. 1, in Buckhead, 17th floor Tower Place. 2, in Alpharetta, just past the Avalon. And 3, a brand new location down in Sharpsburg. As I said, walk in, tell them you need help. The staff there is the best. My man Kent in Alpharetta, I tell him exactly what I need. He takes care of me, stays within the budget. My wife is always happy. I'm here to help you. It's exactly what Solomon Brothers is there to do. Their selection is completely the best in the Atlanta area. They got a full bar in there. You can get a cocktail, walk around. They got TVs. You can turn the games on if you're shopping with your significant other. It is the best jewelry store experience in Atlanta. It's the only jewelry store you need in Atlanta. Again, when you're in store, tell them Punt and Pass sent you. You can get up to 20% off your jewelry purchase. Check them out at Solomon Brothers on social media, solomonbrothers.com. All right, you wake up, it's New Year's Day, and it is 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Head on over to ABC. You got the Peach Bowl right here in Atlanta. Arizona State against Texas. Arizona State, a 13.5-point underdog. They, of course, got the bye week. They're the Big 12 champs. Cam Scatterbo, their running back, is an absolute freight train. I like Arizona State with the points. I really do. Texas, of course, one of the better teams in the country. They were number 1 for a short while. They, of course, took it to the wire with Georgia in the SEC championship game. They put away Clemson late in the second half in the first round matchup. Quinn Ewers dealing with the ankle, dealing with the oblique. Texas played in this building in the SEC championship game less than a month ago. So I think they'll be a bit more comfortable. I just think Arizona State is a feisty underdog. And when you can run the ball, you can keep yourself in a game. How will Arizona State be able to limit Quinn Ewers in this Texas offense? That's going to be the biggest question. But Kenny Dillingham, with this much time to prepare, surely they've put something together to either 1, pressure Quinn Ewers and make him make quick decisions, or 2, figure out some interesting and creative zone concepts that will confuse the Texas quarterback and not allow him to take many shots down the field. What's Texas's health like? I think Arizona State's coming into this game very healthy. They've got nothing to lose. It's a lot of points. Jake and I picked it at 13.5. I'll stick with that. Give me Arizona State to keep it close. Texas wins the game. How about the Rose Bowl? I love this game at 5 p.m. on New Year's Day. Ohio State taking on Oregon in Pasadena. It is a classic Big Ten Pac-12 matchup. Of course, Oregon now in the Big Ten. They are the Big Ten champs. Oregon beat Ohio State by 1 point earlier this year in Autzen Stadium, and Ohio State is the favorite after their resounding victory over Tennessee in the first round. Ohio State laying 2.5 points. Oregon, the only remaining undefeated team in college football, Big Ten champions. They already beat Ohio State. But it seems like the odds makers are loving what Ohio State showed everybody that they're capable of in the first round game when they dismantled Tennessee. To me, Oregon has a huge advantage. I think they do. Again, go back to how much pressure Ohio State has on them. They're playing for their head coach. There's no doubt about it. Chip Kelly kind of burned the boats against Tennessee. Will Howard was chucking that thing deep to Jeremiah Smith. They knew they could take the top off that defense. You got to utilize one of the best players in the country, that, of course, being their freshman wide receiver. But Oregon has been dominant all season long. Dan Lanning, master motivator. Jake has talked about playing for him back in the day. Jake has talked about how well he gets his teams up to play, how well prepared his teams are. They're very sound. The defense leaves a little bit to be desired. I'll say that. Go back to that Big Ten championship game. Penn State's offense put up almost 40 points. They kept that game close. But I think Oregon, staying on the West Coast, Big Ten champs, well-rested. They know they're the better team. They know they're undefeated. They know they've already beat them. I think Oregon's going to go in there and take care of business. Give me the 2.5 points with the Ducks. I do also like the over in this game, 55.5. I think you could see Ohio State get some points. I think Oregon could pull away late, start to get some stops in the third and fourth quarter. But I can't go against what Dan Lanning has showed me all season long. Dylan Gabriel, a Heisman finalist, right? Like, people are just overlooking Oregon's offense and the effectiveness and efficiency that they played with all season long. I think there's some recency bias in this line, given Ohio State's great performance against Tennessee in the first round. But let's not forget who Ohio State is. They've showed us who they are more than what they showed us against Tennessee. So give me Oregon plus 2.5. And wrapping things up for the college football playoff quarterfinal rounds, of course, it's the Sugar Bowl. Georgia, Notre Dame in New Orleans. My only gripe with this is the kickoff time. I mean, 8:45 p.m., no chance it's at 8:45. It's going to be closer to 9. Hopefully you take it easy on New Year's Eve. You're able to stay up and watch this game on New Year's Day night. Going to be a fantastic matchup. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. A lot of questions around Gunnar Stockton, his first start as Georgia's quarterback. This line opened up Notre Dame being a 1.5 point favorite. It's flipped through the line. Georgia now settled in as a 1.5 point favorite. I saw this morning on ESPN Analytics, they're giving Notre Dame like a 54% chance to win this football game. As we mentioned last week, Notre Dame's defensive captain, Riley Mills, out. That is a huge, huge disadvantage for the Fighting Irish defense. He had almost 40 tackles on the season, led the team in sacks with 7.5, led the team in tackles for loss. So Gunnar Stockton's got to love hearing that news. But where I stand on this game is I just simply think Georgia matches up very well against Notre Dame. Notre Dame is going to try to out Georgia. That historically has not worked out well for teams. Also, historically, when Kirby Smart has a lot of time to prepare, the Dogs usually play very well. Think about some of the kickoff games they've played in the past. Oregon 3 years ago smoked them in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Clemson this past year smoked them 34-3 in the kickoff game. Michigan in the Orange Bowl in the semifinals a couple years ago blasted them, right? Ohio State in the Peach Bowl didn't get off to a good start, came back, won that game. This is what Kirby Smart does, okay? When you think about the recruiting that Georgia's had over the last 4 or 5 years, way better than Notre Dame. When you think about the depth that Georgia has accumulated over the last 4 or 5 years, way deeper than Notre Dame. Yes, I know Riley Leonard, their quarterback, over 700 yards rushing, 15 rushing yards on the season. Those are design runs. Those are in between the tackle runs. Those are when things break down, kind of slowly progressing. Guys are way back in the defensive backfield. He's able to find some open space and move the chains. It's not a Jalen Milroe. It's not a Jaden Daniels. It's not a fast twitch guy where if you blink, he's gone down the field. Again, that plays in to Georgia's advantage in a big time fashion. You got to give Marcus Freeman a ton of credit, head coach at Notre Dame. But Kirby Smart clearly is the better football coach in this game. The biggest question is going to be what kind of game plan has the Georgia offensive coaching staff put together for Gunnar Stockton to settle in, for Gunnar Stockton to take a deep breath, to run the football, to have some design runs for Gunnar Stockton to take those first couple of hits, let the butterflies go away, and then work his way into some play action. You got to keep the defense honest if you're Georgia's offense. You cannot have them teeing off on a freshman quarterback, or, call him a freshman, his first ever start as the quarterback at Georgia. The lights cannot become too bright for Gunnar Stockton. The way you do that is you run the football. You don't put him in 3rd and long situations. You don't have him turning the football over. You keep it very sound. And I know you're going to hate hearing me say this. Win 3rd down, right? Play well in situational football. End of half, end of game. Tackle on defense. It's the simple things. I don't think there's any wrinkles that Notre Dame can present Georgia's defense that would really have them saying, oh my gosh, we don't have an answer to what they're doing. Now, if Georgia's defensive line and their front 7 just starts getting pushed around by Notre Dame, and Notre Dame then is able to win the physicality battle and grind out long, sustained drives and keep Georgia's offense off the field and essentially just play keep away, that would be the one scenario where Georgia fans might start feeling a little iffy late on Wednesday evening. But I just don't foresee that. Again, going back to Georgia having the bye week, going back to Georgia knowing what their game plan is going to be essentially, and I think Notre Dame's going to try to mirror that. Advantage Georgia. I like Georgia a lot. I will lay the points in this game. I've got to lean on the historical trends of Kirby Smart having time to prepare, teams trying to take Georgia's playbook and use it against them. It just has not worked well. I think Georgia goes in and takes care of business in pretty dominating fashion on Wednesday night. That is my unbiased, I promise you it's an unbiased preview as to what to expect in the quarterfinal matchups of the college football playoff. To recap, I like Penn State in the Fiesta Bowl laying 11. I like Arizona State catching 13.5. Texas wins by 10 points. I like Oregon to win outright. Give me 2.5 points with the Ducks. And I like Georgia to win by 10 plus. So I will lay the 1.5 points in the Sugar Bowl. I appreciate everybody tuning in to this quick primer for the college football playoff quarterfinal games. You might still be in a daze. You might know not what day of the week it is. We're all there. It's Monday afternoon when I'm recording this. New Year's Eve is tomorrow. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Go Lions tonight. They're taking on the San Francisco 49ers in Monday Night Football. Next week on Sunday Night Football, the Lions host the Vikings. Winner wins the NFC North. Winner of the game clinches the number 1 seed in the playoffs, and of course a bye week as well. So we'll have Jake later on this week to recap what happened in the quarterfinal games, to preview the semifinals, and to talk about the Lions' huge matchup in Week 18 of the NFL season. Shout out to our awesome partners, Solomon Brothers Jewelers, for sponsoring this episode of Punt and Pass. Check them out at Solomon Brothers on social media, solomonbrothers.com. 3 amazing locations, Buckhead, Alpharetta, and Sharpsburg. The best diamond and jewelry selection in the city of Atlanta. A staff that is simply unmatched. They will help you, whatever you're looking for, stay within any budget, make your significant other extremely happy, and an in-store experience that's unmatched. It's just as simple as that. We love Solomon Brothers. Check them out at Solomon Brothers on social media. Check us out on social media at Punt and Pass on X and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. He's at FromJakePuntandPass.com. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Have a safe and happy new year. We'll talk to you later on this week. See ya.